Hello, everybody. So here we go again with the pulse of the market. Just as a reminder, for those of you that do not know yet, PosterLab. So what are we after? We are helping large organizations and their innovation partners to structure and scale their partnership in R&D to help them bring ID to market in a systematic manner through a co-working and collaboration space, which is PosterLab platform. If you want to know more, you have my contact information. Reach out to me. I'm more than happy to show you around. So today I'm super happy. I have Carsten on board with me as a guest. Carsten is our CTO. He will quickly introduce himself, and then we go right into the topic of, let's say, what kind of platform can you actually use to really, let's say, structure and scale your collaboration in R&D. So we'll be talking about SharePoint, Excel, and PosterLab. So Carsten, the floor is yours. If you can quickly introduce yourself.
Yeah, hello. Thank you, Sebastian, for having the chance to talk here. My name is Carsten Blau. My background is from computer science. I was part of a software development company for more than 15 years, and I'm focused on the area of digital innovation in the last years, and entered PosterLab as CTO 2 years ago, and have especially a background in the cloud environments and software development.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Carsten. So you see, I'm not bringing, let's say, any random people here because it's a very important topic. So we need to have clarity in the information we're going to get. So Carsten is the best person for that. Maybe Carsten, so what's your background with Microsoft ecosystem?
So I'm on one side using Microsoft 365 and also administering it. On the other side, I'm involved in activities where I have a chance to screen a lot of coming and existing Microsoft 365 solutions and also Azure solutions. And in this constellation, I also have a good connection to the Microsoft Customer Success managers. So that really gives me a good feeling where Microsoft is standing now and where they will move in the next 12 months or so.
Okay, thank you very much, Carsten. So as we were, let's say, quickly talking about it at the beginning of this pulse, there is this, let's say, need from the market, at least, let's say, what we see when we do, let's say, demos or discussion with senior innovation manager, where they are actually trying to really leverage their innovation partners and trying to come up with the right digital platform or the digital processes. And it's a bit of a struggle. So some of them are using Excel, SharePoint, for sure, PosterLab. So can you quickly, let's say, inform us about, let's say, what are the limits about SharePoint, Excel, or maybe some advantages already?
Yeah, okay, so let's start with Excel. This is obviously the most used tool for starting with something where you have a kind of a list, but on one side, it's very flexible, it's very easy to start. And so almost everyone starts with it, but on the other side, it's not a database. So there's usually you're struggling when you want to have some relations between different informations. It's also, if you just use it standalone and not a cloud environment, the so-called Excel consolidation hell, you send around Excel files and hope that it's coming back in the same structure and that you have a chance to identify what was changed and updated. So it's a bit easier if you have it already in the cloud, where you can share the Excel file to some users. That's still somehow limited and also hard to manage because, for example, Excel does not understand to have different roles and rules for these roles. It's more straightforward. As you would share a piece of paper and anyone can put something in.
Yeah. So maybe it's kind of maybe a good starting point. So you can start to structure, but this is not very much like scalable. What about SharePoint?
So SharePoint is already making it a bit easier, giving more structure than just having Excel. So as SharePoint is a point for a collaboration workspace, you can just imagine it supporting sharing information, especially if you just have one partnership running, where you would have one SharePoint site where this partnership is happening. and then you can share access to documents. And there are, let's say, some additional functionalities like having some content where you can also have something called lists where which already give you some more possibilities. And I would also mention, to a certain degree, SharePoint is connected to Teams behind the scenes. For every Teams environment, there's also a SharePoint document folder. So you can imagine that in Microsoft 365, you may have both opportunities.
Okay, cool. So it's a bit better. We are going the right direction, or a bit more things you can do as an Excel. But okay, well, still, what are the, if we think, say, when we talk to the senior innovation leader, it's all about this study about structuring, scaling in a sense of becoming more mature and more professional over the long term. So is there some limitation? I mean, to go after such kind of tools, SharePoint or Microsoft ecosystem?
Yeah, so what one must know, that's the case with all these more generic tools. They are really generic. So we have nothing which is supporting your use case or business case in partnerships. And everything you want to have implemented for use case, you must somehow do on your own. There's also the limitation that for external users, it does not know several roles. It usually considers people just as guests, and you cannot say, okay, this guest is a manager of my workspace or not. And additionally, when you see that we are in the area of partnerships, usually you have a higher need or higher requirement for more sophisticated topics around information security, also which documents can be shared on which level. And in fact, that's something where Microsoft only provides you with additional licenses. So in your standard Microsoft 365 environment, usually you don't have this possibility.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So would you still have some recommendation? So some people would like to start some point in time. Will you have some recommendation, or is it possible to start to manage partnership ecosystem in SharePoint?
Yeah, in fact, it's possible, but only to a certain degree. So, as I said, you may need to customize it. There are some things that you can customize as a user, but very quickly you will come to the point where you need some kind of software development with additional tools like Power Apps or Power Automate. And then you already more or less need a software developer. And then you run into the situation that you usually are bound to what's available on the resource side from your IT department, or you have to engage an external partner. And you can imagine that this will be somehow time consuming and also costly.
Yeah. And I remember, let's say, when I used to work for a large organization, when you were coming with such kind of request to the IT department, the IT department would say, okay, let me check with the other business unit or department if they have the same need as you, because it makes no sense to develop only something for one business unit. They're always looking at having some kind of a holistic approach, which makes sense, but it's going again to slowing down the whole processes. How do you think, let's say, from PosterLab, how do you think this can help actually to solve the limitation and actually help this organization to become more professional at managing their R&D collaboration?
Yeah, so PosterLab is solving some aspects on a technical side because first, SharePoint is organization-centric. So it only knows well your organization and knows almost nothing about every guest user. So one thing we have different in PosterLab, it's cross-organizational by design. That means that it knows the different organizations and is able also to connect to the different organizations and make it very easy that every organization can manage their part of the game. You can just imagine it's a bit like meeting in a co-working space and just having a room for your project where you and your other partners are in. But usually you won't bring your whole organization with you in the co-working space. So, and everyone is just sending people who should work there. And also this allows that we can have a sophisticated information security concerning on your collaboration and not just on your organization, and also allow to add features which are non-generic. So one thing is that you already get templates which are helping you with best practice processes, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And we often heard that people need a lot of time to align on how would the process look like and when implemented, and PosterLab can give you this by just pushing a button. And also it allows to have a more dedicated extension. So for example, at the moment, a lot of people are talking about AI. So the difference between the AI you will get at some point from Microsoft is very generic. It just knows someone that wants to write a text or read a text. And the AI in PosterLab is trained for the scenario, as knowing about this situation, and so giving you much better results than just a generic AI can do.
Yeah, no, very good point. And I think it's also, back some years ago, 10 to 20 years ago, you would have the first innovation management system on the market with StageGate. And I think right now, it's all about collaboration and R&D. And if you really want to achieve these goals, you need to have, it's a platform that I've made for that. To really professionalize this whole function. So like you mentioned, there's a lot of back and forth in between the partners. You need to map the capabilities, you need to map the knowledge, you need to map the people. How do you actually deal with the point of actually sharing this security level? You've been touching a little bit about how can we help through PosterLab to actually kind of structure a bit the degree of confidentiality and make it easy for people to know what they're sharing to whom and if possible or not.
Yeah, so what we have is a permission system behind the scenes that is able on one side to consider the role and also additional attributes. So we are able really to give a very granular configuration about who can access what. You just can imagine this system or your collaboration like a virtual organization where you would say, okay, in this organization, someone can see something, all my partners can see something, but in a project, perhaps I only want to have the people involved in the project seeing something. And so PosterLab from the core technology allows to differentiate these things, and also in future developments give it much more allow much more sophisticated configurations, and also allows it that the different organizations manage their part on their own. So for example, if a user is not in a company anymore, that's not the problem of the other partner to configure that. In my company, I just can decide what's happening in my company, like you would do in a project. You won't have a shared HR department. Everyone would just contribute and configure from his point of view, and you would really be able up to have very confidential information in it, and also to say, and that's some customers request, also to say some information maybe even public in the ecosystem. So for example, which skills has a person? The person can decide to say, okay, this is public, so other people can find me and make it easier to connect. And if you have this possibility to give the different levels and configure it, you can really keep the information secret, which should be secret, and to share the information which should be shared, because partnerships often live to a certain degree from sharing information and not just say giving no information. As I said, Microsoft and all the other players just can give you some, on one side, some base technology. So even Microsoft's providing this as a Azure service, which has some basic configuration. And also they just started to introduce these things in their products. So their products will have some additional AI supported features, but this always is just very generic. So there's no specific AI trained or fine-tuned on the use case. And that's what PosterLab has done in the past. For example, we have an AI which can identify the categories, topics, keywords in documents, which was trained by 100,000 of available research documents in this area. So you can imagine that this makes it much more precise in your cases than having just a generic AI, which doesn't know about your subject. There's several points. One is with generic solutions, you will stay generic, or you will have to invest a lot of money in building a more dedicated solution. So, and that's something where, for example, PosterLab is giving you the experience from several customers in the area and several experts in the area. So the investment will be lower. It will be spread over more time because it's a subscription model. You can also always be sure that there's a team who's developing things further and further. So it's not like I just created my own concept, implemented something in SharePoint, and then I have to wait again until I have money or resource available to develop it further. And also, you can be sure that all the partners would have the same user interface, not something different in different scenarios. And so I think it really gives a cost advantage above individual development in your own company, and also gives you makes it easier to be faster in the topics, to get quicker to a certain maturity level, because it's supporting certain processes, supporting certain approaches, and tries to have to give you a lean and agile way how you can use the system, and makes it easier to use across several companies. It's not just about your organization, it's several companies. I think it's not only about the right technology, it's also about using the right process. And I personally had my best experiences with a, I would say, moderated agile process. In the software industry, we were struggling with our projects for a long time. And since I learned to know Agile 15 years ago, I saw how this would really give more transparency in the process, and makes things much easier to handle, as long as it's moderated. So there's someone who's keeping or supporting the team to use the process in the right way, and it's some will need a bit of time for people to adapt. And concerning the technology, it must be easy to use and to adopt, because if you have a long learning curve, or you need 6 months to introduce a new software system, to customize it, to decide a lot of things, and then to train everyone, there's something going wrong. People don't invest this time usually. So if you want that the technology is used, it must be relatively easy to use, and and should support people in giving this transparency across the different organizations who collaborate.
If you want to know more about what was discussed, or want to assess the current maturity of your R&D collaboration, Carsten, Sebastian, and other experts are available to chat with you. For this and/or a live demo of our solution, you can contact Sebastian at the contact info on your screen, or by visiting PosterLab.co to learn more. We hope to chat with you soon to discuss how we can help your R&D collaboration succeed.